Hey everybody, I'm just doing a little bit of a back to Anyaral video today. Some of you that are longtime subscribers may remember that I had dabbled into getting into the game Chronicles of Anyaral, or World of Twilight. It's a fantasy game, and at the end of this video I will have a thumbnail that you can click to see that video. It is from a couple of years ago. Time just goes really fast, and when you get distracted as easily as I do, and you have a number of games that are sort of your foundational games that you support and play, it sometimes is difficult to get into new things and stay committed. But as many people that know me both off the channel and gaming, and folks that I'm close through on the channel, they'll know that I have repeatedly said over the last couple of years that this is the one that I do need to get back to. It's on my #1 on my unfinished business list, and it's something that I really have been looking forward to for a long time to play now, it seems. And so, like I said, these are the Devanu that I have in front of you, and these are the ones that I've already painted and done a video on. And in the background here you can see the rulebook for Chronicles of Anyaral, World of Twilight. And now I have prepared a group of Fubarni that I'll show you that I'm going to be working on, and I want to talk about a terrain project that I'm starting now in order to play the first scenario, which is what painting all these miniatures have really been geared towards. So nothing impressive to look at this time, but these are my primed. I ended up using puttied them and green stuff, some joins and things like that. These are fairly easy to put together, don't get me wrong. There were a couple joins that I had to just do a little bit of green stuffing, but these are my Fubarni. Now, I'm not an expert on all the terminology because they are sort of fictitious names, but these are beasts that they write here are called Enoch, I believe. And what I have here is more than what I need to play the first scenario, which is the engineer scenario, but it's sort of a logical grouping for painting that I did, similar to my other group, which really only required 3 of the creatures and the Devanu Sempa, I believe, for the scenario, but I have painted a lot more. I painted up all of those types of creatures just to kind of leverage painting time and paint usage and things like that. But what I have here are some militia, and a moment here. I have a couple of leaders here, and I did flip through to try to look who they were, but I think maybe in the early releases, because this was I think from an early Kickstarter. You'd say you wonder why you think. Well, I did get a good deal and actually buy somebody's Kickstarter. And I believe this was from an early Kickstarter, this hero. Now, I don't know if he normally goes with this group of Fubarni or whether he's meant to go with another, but I think he was released with these early on. And so this would be sort of like a captain, I believe, type character. I think he's generic, not a named character, if I remember right. And then these are just standard Fubarni militia, like holding spears. I'll show a comparison to the Devanu, but they are quite a bit smaller than the Devanu. You know, they're meant to be. They were an imprisoned race for many years because of that. Easily overpowered initially, I guess. And so these are 5 militia. Now these are used for the scenario. Not really going to go in order of any specific order here, but that is a critter that just, I believe, came as a freebie, that you can buy them on the Twilight Anyaral website. It's just shop. You can get them actually 12 random ones, or 12 of them, different types. And so I just put him on a base. So he's cool looking. It'll be fun just to paint something different color and have some variety for the board. I'm probably going to get more of these at one point. I don't have like a grouping of 12 of them. Now back here are sort of the powerhouses of the initial scenario for the Fubarni. Now we have our leader character here, which I believe is a captain. He might be a named character. That's where I'm a little out of sorts because I haven't been playing it. Some of them are named characters, some aren't. And then behind him are these sort of knights. So they're riding the Enochs and have spear and shield. And they have armor on. Here's just a plain Enoch of what they look like without a rider. I don't know why I have this. I looked through and I don't think that I have an extra rider around, but I'm just going to paint him up for now because I think he's just a spare. Then I have, as well, this just made sense for the purposes of the game. I'm not sure whether, for the first scenario, I need the rider captain or a on-foot captain, but this is like a very similar model, just an on-foot captain. So, yeah, and then lastly is the star of the show for that scenario is the engineer himself. And as I understand it, in the first wave of Twilight, when it first came out, or at least the first... I ended up drilling that out to just a little bit, just to create some depth and with that blunderbuss thing. But in the first wave of Twilight, or at least the first character that ever had a gun of some kind, was the engineer. Now, there is a race within Twilight that have similar guns as standard, in their unit, but they're a bit more of a technology, a bit more of an advanced race when it comes to technology. Twilight, as I understand it, when it first came out, wasn't very ranged focused, and then as later iterations, and the rules were added on to, there more and more ranged weapons kind of came out, and so it'll be interesting. Like, I do have a template that you use for this, in order to use the sole ranged weapon of the first scenario. And so yeah, he looks really cool, I think. He'll be fun to paint. And so, not a lot to show at the moment other than just showing what the plan is. I thought a little bit about how I want to paint these guys, and you do have lots of freedom in this game to paint however you like. I wanted to go somewhat traditional, because I think I have a little bit. Some of these guys are not really the traditional color scheme, but I actually really enjoyed painting them this way. And so, let's see here. I've showed these already, and you can see them more up close in the next video, but I really enjoyed painting these. These are some of my favorite models, these styles. But what I'm thinking about doing is having the Fubarni, the skin of these bipedal creatures, sort of what is similar in most of Twilight. It's sort of like a browny orange kind of shade, and using some highlights, some other colors for highlights, and I think that's going to be my standard for the Fubarni. But for the Enochs, rather than go with one color, I was thinking of doing two. And I was looking at having a variety that are yellow, and then a variety that are green. Using some base colors and then lightening up. And in some cases, maybe even both, having a bit of like green with the yellow for the, for let's say, one part of them, like their chest area, or under the neck and things like that. And so I'm thinking about that. I may or may not do that. I might, though. Yeah, and so that's kind of the plan for the color scheme. I'm looking forward to that. I really enjoyed painting the other ones. They painted up really nicely, painted up well. Before I show just my ideas on a terrain project, which in some ways is just another whole fun piece to this, because I'm experimenting with some different techniques that I've skirted around doing in the past, but have researched heavily in the past. I just wanted to show sort of one of my bigger Devanu, and it's just sort of interesting just to see the size differences. There is you get quite a number points-wise within the scenarios of Fubarni as compared to Devanu, because the Devanu is so powerful physically. And that also translates in the rules, as I remember it, into other things, stamina and other leadership qualities that make some of the bigger Devano characters very formidable. But if you look here, even mounted, the sort of general mounted is only the size of the Devano, and the Devano is kind of hunched over, you know, not even really fully erect in height, you know, in the style of the sculpture. And so it does give you just an impression of just how tremendously different these races are. And then as well, you know, just seeing your poor Fubarni having this huge creature coming after it. And so it's a good thing for numbers and experience and special abilities for the Fubarni player. And so I am going to, for those interested, I am going to just show a little bit about what I'm planning on doing for my terrain piece, which will be an engineer house for the first scenario, but I'll be sort of building up a scenery piece around it. So I'll be right back. So again, nothing really to look at this time. I'm really just using these props just to explain the basics of what I'm going to be trying to do. But this sort of Fubarni engineer needs a house that he needs to get to in order to not get eaten by the Devano. And the first scenario, as I remember it, is very much kind of an escort scenario where the Fubarni are trying to get the engineer back to his house so he doesn't get eaten by the Devano. Now, there's some wonderful terrain builders on the Facebook page for Anyaral World of Twilight. Anybody that's remotely interested in this game, I suggest you go to the Facebook page because they have a very good community. Lots of regular posters and just lots of talent and eager people, like new people coming in that are eager. Just really great for inspiration for the game. Now, one of them, named Martin, I just mentioned him by name because he just happens to be one person that's done quite a bit of terrain on a grand scale on the page. I've been following a lot of his stuff, and I am using some of his methods in order to build the house and in a very kind of Twilight style. But for this particular piece, what I'm looking at doing is sort of a Twilight house, which, you know, in general, they tend to be shingled roofs with a bit of a white stucco finish with sort of your wood beam kind of decor, you know, or, you know, structure with that stucco, with circular windows. So I'm going to be looking to do that, but I'm looking at having it be in the middle of a pond. And so I'm going to draw this out and cut it into a pond. And this will be a rusty cast iron pipe pillar that this house has been built on by the engineer. For that pipe, I'll be smoothing the tops and bottoms of this out. This is from my aquarium hobby, some PVC pipe. I will be taking some wire and making it so as if it's built in sections to go around it to show like a couple of clear dividers where it's been welded together, and then some rivets. And I'm going to be using some Mr. Surfacer that's used quite a bit in the modeling hobby, but it creates that cast iron rough finish, and then I'll be making it very rusted looking, as if it's just been sitting outdoors and this house has been built on it. Maybe even used at one point for something and then scrapped for this purpose, to have this house hovering above ground to protect. Part of this is to protect the engineer. Now, there'll be a porch that goes around it, and I'm going to have a platform that lowers from that porch as his way of gearing himself up and down to his house. And then I'll use epoxy sculpt to make a pond, and I'm going to be getting some water effects to do a deep pour to have basically some nice depth, you know, and so you can see into the pond below. And there'll be some stones, which with some extra putty that I've been using, I have some kicking around here that I basically, I actually can't even see them at the moment, but I have a couple of huge stones, yeah, that are just going to be, there's going to be basically stones that he would use to get to a bit of a landing in the pond that's sort of a sandbar in the middle that this thing goes on to. And so I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to really be focusing on painting the Fubarni right now, but I'm getting my stuff together, and I'm going to start constructing in between steps in painting this this house. So it should be really a lot of fun, be a learning experience to do some things. The only thing that's going to be interesting is I have ordered some really cheap rubber washers for the round windows, and they're not supposed to come, according to eBay, until August. And so I know I can just place them on last, but I think that might be just one piece that will push this out a little bit, the very finishing of the project, because I'm just waiting on some things. But I'm going to get everything else ready, have it almost near completion until those windows come in, and then I'll put the windows in. Kind of like Real House, sometimes you put the windows in last. So, for those of you that are interested in this, there'll be some more videos coming out. And yeah, I hope everybody's doing well, and take care.